Happy's here. Awesome. How you going, Happy? I always smile when I come into these live streams. You know, even if I'm not feeling happy or, you know, if I'm stressed out, and then I load up the live stream, and then I can't help but smiling. Yeah, Happy's here. Awesome. Good to see you, mate. So I'm in the art area, workshop art area, and I'm a little bit late again. I'm trying to get here on time, but you know, Sundays, you know, you can't rush a Sunday. So, yeah, I hope everyone's good. You know, I hope everyone's had a week that, even if it's been a difficult week, I hope that something's, worked out or become better, or, you learned something new, progressed a little bit further. And, even if it's a week that's been a absolute write-off, nothing worked out, that's all right too, because this week coming, it will be better than last week. So it's a good start, Got my Steve Irwin shirt on. Crikey. So awesome. Highly sensitive healers here. Awesome. Highly sensitive healer says, "Hey Luke, I watched your video of you and the witch using the stick. I thought it was awesome. I'd love to see a real-time video if that's possible." Absolutely, I'll do one for you, mate. I've been meaning to do, except the only problem is my phone records the audio offset. So the only thing holding me back is I can't find the battery for my standalone camera. So I think I'll find it in the next week. So give us a week or two, and I'll have a fresh staff stick twirl, and I'll do one of those. I'll try and do it at sunrise or sunset or something cool. So that's awesome. Thanks, I appreciate that, and I'll get on to that. Yeah, staff. Yes, stick, staff, same thing. I call it stick. I call it staff. It's a walking stick. It's a staff. So I like to substitute both names, and yeah, it's really good. Yeah, that's it. Highly sensitive healer says staff is way better sounding. Well, yeah, it is. It's like it is. But it's really cool. You do, highly sensitive healer does rock balancing, and he's really good at it. And he does rock balancing at home, in his garden, as well as in nature, in rivers, river banks, and inside, like, where all the rapids are and things. He does some really cool stuff. So, like, this is my balancing sort of stuff. So I'm balancing the staff or the stick, and I try and, what's the word? Like, it's good exercise too, just like with balancing rocks or balancing stones, like it's a good workout doing that. It's a lot of energy in getting the rock and placing it, and then letting go, and it's staying where it is, and all the effort that you go into collecting the rocks. So it's cool. Happy. Yeah, highly sensitive says, healer says, yeah, I could tell that it's your thing. I dig it, brother. Awesome. Cheers, mate. Yeah, I'll keep making more. So, and I'm about to make a new staff too, because my current one's got a few cracks in it now. So I keep gluing it back, so it's still good. I'll keep my original old school one going, but it's time to make a fresh one. And so yeah, that's awesome. Happy Homer says, "Have you heard from Australiana?" No, I haven't yet. I haven't reached out, so I will. I'll do that. I'm going to write that in my book. I've got my book here, so I'm going to write that down so I don't forget it. Sorted. I'm going to do that, Happy, and I'll let you know as soon as I as soon as I find out. I also, Happy, while you're there, I have reinstalled Discord after I got rid of it a while ago. So I'll look at starting a server sometime. So I like your suggestion for that. I was thinking of using like Patreon in that sense, because you can use Patreon as like a community chat thing, but I've got like free tiers on there for that purpose, but I haven't really done much with it. But yeah, my only thing is just having too many things to try and focus on. That's just why it's taken me a while, but I'm on to it still. So, highly sensitive healer says it's important to find something like that. Yeah, it is, mate. It is something that you can ground, you can do balance, you can do all that stuff, and you get a bit of exercise. You get achievement. When you practice, you do something, and then you've got something afterwards, and each time you improve a bit more, you get better at what you're doing, and yeah, it is very important. So keep working for it and find your purpose or your thing, your creative outlet. And it's really important. When you do find that, you can really appreciate it. And yeah, that's a great comment. Yes, highly sensitive healer says, especially healing from CPTSD. Absolutely, it's been a major thing for me having that sort of stuff. Mindful walking and mindful watching sunsets is another big thing for me. Going into nature and sitting on a fallen tree log and watching the sunset. That's another one of my favorite things to do. It really does help with the healing. It's a big compliment to it, and so LKW's here, which is hey, it's Mama Bear on my other account. Hi all, much love. Awesome. Should I call you Mama Bear still? I like Mama Bear, so we'll call you Mama Bear or LKW Mama Bear. LK Mama Bear. Awesome to see you here, Mama Bear. It's been a while, and Mama Bear or LK was in the cyclone as well, so hopefully she's all right. A bit of flooding or a bit of rain, heavy rain. Yes, highly sensitive healer says, yeah, you got to be careful with that, taking on too many things. Good point, brother. It's like, and I get excited. I have too, you can see, look at all this stuff around me. I've got all this stuff to make things, and it's sometimes it gets overwhelming, even just, yeah, it can be overwhelming, but I'm working on it now is to just get back to that and minimize things a little bit. And that's sort of what I've realized recently. I was trying to do too much, is to just cut a few things off the list, get back to them later on, and you know, it'll be good. But keep them there, but just take them off the main list so I can focus on what I can achieve and then go back to that later. Yeah, highly sensitive healer says bingo. He continues, find what allows you to explore your creativity and to find your calm. That's beautiful. Exactly. That's it. That's that being a primary purpose for that's a really good way to decide whether what you're doing is actually benefiting you or whether it's causing strain, you know. LKW Mama Bear says, lol, yes. She continues, so good to see you all is well here over the rain. Yeah, that's it. So that's good to hear. LKW Mama Bear's like, you know, she sailed through the storm, and now and again with the rain, because we've had a couple of weeks of rain, which has been really nice. But it's caused, you know, you can't really do things like get your washing done and lots of things when it's because it was every day for a while, and then it eased up a bit now. I love when it rains, you know, but it's also it's good. You know, getting good rain now's. I mean, this is the end. Like we do get rain this time of year. This where I am, and then it sort of eases up in winter. Sometimes we get a lot of rain in winter. So, but it's awesome to see you here as well, LKW Mama Bear. Yep, so overwhelmed lately. Looks good there, Luke. Thank you, Mama Bear. I've still got to do a bit of sorting in here, you know, make it more optimal. And I hopefully get my guitar strings next week, which I'll finish. That'll be a cool live stream project, is to finish, complete this guitar that I've been working on. And I got a bit of a shock because I thought when I bought the strings, it was Australian dollars and it was US dollars. So, and then I checked my account and I'm like, oh no. Oh. So, yeah, the strings ended up costing more than the guitar. But that's cool. That's what it's all about. Revive a classic 60s guitar and get it running again. And you know, strings are going to last for like 3 years or something. So it's money well spent, you know. And highly sensitive healer says, "Yeah, you're doing great, man. Thank you. You too, brother. It's good to see. I've jumped in on a few streams. I haven't I've been sort of tired when I've joined the stream, so I've been a bit unable to join the chat. But I'll make sure I do soon and catch up with everyone. And it's good to see everyone's like in your live streams. Everyone's doing good, including yourself. So it's good. That's really awesome. And highly sensitive healer says calm over chaos. That's a really great thing to say, that's balance, isn't it? That's finding balance. And I like that. Calm over chaos. Highly sensitive here. Healer says, yeah, sorry to hear, LKW. Highly sensitive healer says, yeah, I just broke my bottom E string and needs to be restrung. I'm so pissed, but it happens. Yeah, that happened too. It would be nice, like especially on a steel string. Like I play classical with, so that you don't really get broken strings much on a classical. But when I used to play steel string, I used to break that all the time. It'd be the E string or the G string, or sometimes the D string. No, yeah, not so much the D. Although actually, sometimes it was like it would break on the inside, and but mostly the bottom E. And it gets, the thing is it gets rusty, gets a little bit of rust, and it like eats through, and then it breaks at that point. It's frustrating. So good tip is when you go to the guitar shop, buy an extra E string and put it in your guitar case or something like that. Just knowing that one day it'll break and you can just replace that one. They should give you an extra one in the packet, but they're not going to, because they want you to, they want to. I mean, if you go to the right guitar shop, you can buy the individual strings. LKW says, thank you, highly sensitive healer with the hearts. Awesome. Yes, calm over chaos is brilliant. Highly sensitive healer says, thank you. He's going on my first. Awesome, dude. That'll be awesome. Like, you're going to make hoodies or shirts or something, like coffee cups. I reckon that's awesome. Highly sensitive healer. That's what I was responding to. He says, going on my first highly sensitive healer merch, calm over chaos. Yep. That's brilliant. Yes. Says they want me to spend money. Exactly. I think that's what you're talking about, the guitar strings there. That's it. Yeah. It's like the guitarist tax. So yeah, I am having a beer. I'll let you know, but I'm only having a couple. I basically have one or two beers now. Like it got to the point where I'd open one beer and I'd have one beer, and then I'd have a second beer sitting there. I wouldn't even open it, and it would get warm, and I'd put it back in the fridge. So things are going really well for that, and I'm enjoying it when I do. Like, it's good to have to relax sometimes. So yeah, it's been going well. But that's why I was doing that, because I'm drinking a beer. Bracelets, yeah, that's a cool one. Yes, all right. Well, that's good, because I'm pretty low on funds. So, um, you're making it affordable. That makes it easy, to purchase. So I'll look into that. I love that. Highly sensitive continues. Yeah, so you can look down at your wrists. Like I've got a bracelet here. Can easily go another one. Can see one sitting there saying calm over chaos. Yes, that's it. So you can look down at your wrist and see that, and see calm over chaos anytime you need to be reminded of it. That's brilliant. So that can be a great grounding thing if you've got like help with anxiety and panic and like trauma triggers. You just you remind yourself of it. All the way to, oh wait, no. LKW Mama Bear says, lol, I've got the little stainless steel cups too. Yeah. You've got the same. You got the full size ones and the mini ones. It's classic. These are really good. We used to have like 5 of them here, and there's only like 2 left. I don't know where the other ones disappeared to, but they are really good. They're super strong. They hold a good amount, so I like them. Only thing, obviously, with stainless steel cups, you know, when you've got a really cold drink inside, you get all the condensation on the outside. I mean, you get that with glass as well. You get that with every cup, unless it's insulated. So I guess that's a given. Can't fault them; they're unbreakable. And highly sensitive here. Oh no, all the way absurd's here. Awesome. How you going all the way? All the way says, hey friends, it's great to see you here. And you know, thanks for doing the shout out to everyone. Yeah, highly sensitive healer says, you do you, my friend, my dude. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. I will. That's what it's all about. Hey, be yourself, find out what works for you, and you know, enjoy it. You know, and if it doesn't work, find something else. Keep learning, keep adapting. You know, all the way. Oh no, wait. Oh, awesome. Oh no, LKW says hi all the way absurd. Oh no, also highly sensitive says, yeah, I'm a beer fan myself, but mostly wine. Yeah, wine's good. I love wine. Again, you know, nowadays generally if I do have wine, it's only 1 or 2 glasses. But wine is great. I really do like it. And it is, if you're in moderation, it's very good for you. Yeah, LKW Mama Bear says, hi all the way absurd. All the way says, absurd says, yeah, doing really good right now. Thanks, man. That's awesome. That's really good to hear. You know, because we all have these good weeks, and we want to keep those good weeks going. And you just keep you keep working, you keep pushing, and then you get progress. You know, you have good weeks. When things get a bit tough, you can always look back at things have been good, and things will get good again. So. All the way says, hey, LKW, Mama Bear. Highly sensitive healer says, yeah, we both know all about that. Yeah, that's it, brother. It's tough. You know, it's all about moderation. LKW Mama Bear says, yes, I have both. I have both too. Great cups. Yes, that's it with the star. Yeah, they're great. And they last forever. So highly sensitive healer says, I want to say that I believe in what you're doing in your channel. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I believe you will help and support a lot of others. And I believe in your authenticity. Thank you so much, highly sensitive healer. I really appreciate that. And, you know, I extend the, you know, the same to you and your channel. I think you've got a good community there. And I like all the games and stuff you play. Like everyone has fun. Like you can, it's all, I like how you sort of mix the different, you know, you talk about, sometimes it's time to talk about sensitive things, and other times it's time to just talk about, you know, fun things. Other times it's like, let's play some games and just have some fun. Guessing game and hangman, all that stuff. I reckon that's cool. So no, I appreciate your comment, highly sensitive healer. Oh, awesome. Go Fast is here. Go Fast Racing says cheers. Good to see you here, mate. And again, I'm inspired by all your artwork, mate. Like you make some really amazing artwork. So can't wait to share some of it here. I know you. I think, it's just amazing. Like I just love it. It's cool. It's that's what it's all about. Hey? Making art, doing things around the house, getting some garden veggies going in the garden, getting doing some projects, looking after people around. You're a good man. Go Fast. It's appreciate you all here. It's such a I just I became so isolated over a few years, over a while, and for a long time really. But it sort of fluctuated. There were times over, say, the last 10 years or more where I really I closed off from people, but then I would sort of re-engage and I would get back to being around people. And it got really difficult in the last few years. And ever since I started this live streaming, it's starting a community, and I like, we all made this, it's all, and that's the beauty of it. It's like it's I'm just the guy sitting here in front of the camera chatting, but we're all making this happen. And a lot of people who've come to this channel and got to know everyone, like people are busy. Also, sometimes it's triggering, it can be too much. But everyone knows that we're all here for each other when we need it. So reach out. Anyone who wants to, just put it in the comments. If you want to chat, email me. I am getting around to finally responding to emails because I've had a big problem with that. So anyone who's sent an email and I haven't responded, I'm sorry. But I'm getting there. I'm working through everything now to this point. So highly sensitive here. He says, yeah, you're already helping lots of people. Thank you, brother. And you too. Yes. He continues. It's all about balance. Yeah. And it's why I've done what I've done on my channel. Exactly. No, that's it, mate. Being triggered shines a light towards a wound that needs tending to. Sorry. Yes. That is a really good point. That is a really good point. It gives you an insight into what you need to be doing, and when you think about it, it changes the perspective of being triggered from something that's making you upset, traumatized, bringing flashbacks, dissociating, having your nervous system go all out and be messed up and everything, digestive system, whatever, all that stuff. And all the other carry-on effects. Like, so when you get triggered, you might stop doing all the things that you were doing, keeping busy and nourishing. But then if you can stop and think about it and go, what is it? What happened? How do we move on from here? What can I do? and be like, it's a great thing to be able to it's turning it around from being something it's still going to cause pain, it's still hurt being triggered, and you lose time, and it can be damaging too. For instance, like I'll talk about in a little while, I ended up having to throw some stuff away because I was so triggered this week and just the other day. And I regret some of that, but then now looking back, I'm okay with it because, so it's a really good point. So like when you get triggered, think about what it is, and then maybe even write it down on some paper, and then think about it some more. Like break it down, so you're not just looking at the trigger itself. Look at the underlying issues. You know, um, what needs to change. Write that down. Sometimes there's a disconnect between what the trigger is and what the causes are. It's like and the attributes or the symptoms. Write them down. Think about it, because it could actually, even like, if it's clear enough, then you know what you need to be working on. And if it's something that's too much to deal with right now, at least you know what it is. So if you can't work on it, you can prevent yourself from being triggered by it. So yeah, highly sensitive healer says yes, but in the moment it's difficult to recognize what I'm in a flashback or a trigger. Brilliant. That's what I wanted to talk about tonight, and I'll go into that. Really great comment there, highly sensitive healer. This is the difficulty, is when you're triggered, especially when there's a couple of triggers and it gets worse and worse. You don't know what's happening. You don't know what you're having. You're too busy reacting to being triggered to identify that you're triggered, and then it's changing your behavior. And then once it's pushed you off in this direction, you're too busy dealing with what's going on to actually stop and reconnect with what it is. It's a really good point. And yeah. So Pete Walker's book has got like a checklist, and it's on his website. I was thinking of like looking for it tonight to show you. But there is a checklist, that you can have in your wallet. You can have a piece of paper, put it in your wallet, print it out, and then just, go through, or you can make your own even. So you can have like a question tree or question, what do they call them? Sorry, mine's blank at the moment. It's like a path. I forget what they're called, but it's like a choice path or a decision path. If you notice something strange, then you can say, "Am I triggered?" And then you can go, "Yes, no." And then if you say yes, how do you feel? I feel anxious, upset, scared. And then, you could say, what happened? What just happened? what happened today, what's happening this week, and you can maybe list, things. Think about what's coming up in the next week that you're anxious about, because here's the thing to talk about is that we can be anxious towards something, a particular thing, and then so we then end up getting triggered because we're anxious toward this thing, but then something else becomes the trigger, and we're too busy, so I'll try and go into this at some point. Highly sensitive healer says it's an emotional flashback. Yes, that's exactly it. I think a big thing about triggers are the emotional flashback, and so essentially we're wanting to get back to a safe place where we're not afraid. Sam Likes Fruit says Virginia Guthrie is triggering me. Yeah, rest in peace, Virginia Guthrie. It's very sad news. She was a champion who spoke out, and if it wasn't for her, people that were trying to expose stuff for a long time, if it wasn't for her, it wouldn't have made the light of day. And it's sad. So rest in peace. She's a champion for humanity. Sadly, she was bullied after she had what she's been going through recently, and I don't know how much of that or really what happened yet. So I'm not going to speculate or anything, but what we can do is we can appreciate that moving forward, humanity will become a better place because people like Virginia put herself in the firing line against some very powerful entities to expose some horrible, disgusting, not only crimes, but methods and practices that are done in this world. So really good comment there. Sam Likes Fruit. Good to see you here. I haven't seen you for a while. But I understand. It is triggering. I was triggered. I was triggered yesterday. Absolutely. You know what? I was triggered by that. That's what happened. It really got to me. It really got to me. And you could even argue that what's happened to her in the last, especially in the last couple of months or month, could be something that would scare people off seeking justice. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think what she's done is going to open up, and it's very sad that it ended this way for her, but I think what she's done is she's planting a tree for humanity, or she did that, and that the future generations can appreciate the shade from that tree to protect it from being exposed to the wrong things. It's a strange analogy, but you know what I'm saying. She was creating the pathway for future generations to keep fighting for justice. I hope people don't become afraid because of her. I hope it has the alter effect in time. If there is enough people that are able to not be afraid, the world can't help but have to attend and to amend these horrible injustices. And yeah, I appreciate your comment there, Sam. It is a very painful time, and it's been a very upsetting time ever since the accident, the bus accident, and everything else when she was in hospital. I'm not going to speculate too much about any of the things attributed to her. I'm just going to, mourn and rest in peace, Virginia, because she sacrificed a lot. And in the end, yeah. But MJG's here. Oh no, wait. Sam says, yes, I won't read out all your there, Sam, but you said you won't do any of that, what Virginia went through, which is to, it's good to know that, Sam, to know that you're affirming that, and that, look, I understand that you have suffered some serious, I won't go into details of what I suspect, but based on what you're saying is that you've been through some, you understand that there is evil in this world, and that it damages people, but we have to live, and we have to keep care and love whatever we can. But thanks for your comments there, Sam. MJGC, awesome. Good to see you, MJG. Vanderhul. Good morning, Luke, and all with the heart. Awesome, MJG. It's so good to see you here. Yes. Good morning to you too. And it is morning. I love that. Highly sensitive healer says it could save your life, honestly. Yes. Marina's here as well. And Marina says, good morning, MJG and all. Awesome. Awesome to see you here, Marina. And it's very much late night there for you. So good late night. But, I love how Marina says good morning, because it's morning in Europe. It's evening here, and it's like middle of the night in America. I love how we're here chatting from all around the world. LKW Bear says, "Oh, this happened to me last couple of weeks. Triggers on triggers. Yes, that's it. Triggers on triggers. It compounds, and I think when I sort of go into it's great that we're just we're starting with the chat, and it's giving everyone the opportunity to talk about this, and that's what I was sort of hoping. It was like what I was going to put in the thing, what works for you and all this sort of stuff, or how do you identify when you're being triggered? What do you do when you do? Triggers on triggers. It is. It's not just one thing. It's multiple, and you have carry on effect. It's very, very painful, very difficult. And so I'll give you an example. If you've had a trigger that causes you to dissociate a little bit, you're not going to be aware of these other triggers that appear, but they're still going to affect. So you're not going to be able to deal with either the primary or the original one, and then the secondary, tertiary. It just gets worse and worse, and then they compound. And if the different triggers then have different behaviors associated, one trigger might be like, oh, I need to have a few beers to relax. Another trigger might be, I can't do anything today, can't get out of bed. Another trigger might be, I don't want to speak to anyone. if I speak to anyone, it's going to just take me to that triggered place. So each different triggers that come from different places, but then they all, so it's like, this is why it's difficult, and this is why it's complex, and we know this, we're living with these things, we know how difficult this stuff is. LKW Mama Bear says, me too, Sam likes. My brother told me too last year, also triggered me by the reported suicide in WA, hoping the news is lying. Yeah, some people are saying she's in witness protection, but other people are saying, no, that's not the case. I think in cases like this, for due diligence, look, if she's in witness protection, how do you not do something like this without making it difficult for what they're trying to do? Most likely it's not that, and that what we're being told is what happened. And I'm not going to speculate as to whether she was pushed. She was definitely pushed by being bullied online when she was in hospital. Also, the harassments and threats ongoing from long before she even thought about going up against some of the most powerful people and entities on this planet. Not many people have done what she's done. So, but it is triggering for us all. So a major thing is people say she's being made an example of to actually frighten off whistleblowers seeking justice, or anyone seeking justice. Hopefully that's not the case. I think it's going to actually create an overwhelming push for us to say no more with this stuff. It's going to be almost impossible to stop these horrible things that go on in the world. But I think people like Virginia, wasn't for them, we wouldn't even have a space to even get people aware. And so yeah, maybe she might get a posthumous humanitarian award. Hopefully it does inspire people to do what they can. Unfortunately, it's very difficult in this world. Doesn't mean it's not possible to stop this stuff. I think it's possible. I think the world can stop all of this stuff that's going on. And it takes people like that to sacrifice themselves, the safety for themselves, for other people, Yeah. LKW this Mama Bear MJG, LKW's Mama Bear. She's got a new account. So that's what I'm saying, LKW Mama Bear. Just for now, and maybe we'll see what whatever she wants to be. I can drop the Mama Bear, or I can keep saying it. I'm happy to say it every time because it's a cool name. Both are cool names. But yeah, LKW Mama Bear says, hi, MJG. Sam Likes Free says, yeah, my local pub barred me for doing drugs. I don't do drugs. The coke dealer threatened to smash my head in. He sells coke to my R person bone breaker. Yeah, I couldn't read out what the word. I'm trying to like limit certain words, but I can. It's good that you write them there, and I think everyone would know what the R word is, and you can read the comment as well. So, I'm really sorry that you're surrounded by these sorts of people, and we live in a pretty difficult world where often bad people that are doing bad things will often target innocent people to be ostracized or have their character assassinated, or what's the word? Like their reputation be destroyed in order to silence them or subdue them. And it's very sad because because of corruption of different places. It creates this scenario. I should start speeding up the reading because, but this is great. There's some good comments here, and I really like this that people have been talking about the topic of how to deal with triggers. So it's pretty special. Sam likes fruit says, yeah, the whole town, police, social workers, pubs are all in on it. Not trigger, it's real. Look, I don't. What's the word? I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think that stuff happens everywhere, and that it can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming because it does happen in a lot of places, especially concentrated areas. It can, especially if you're an outsider or if you're someone that they want to be fearful of. You will have to deal with a little bit extra, but like it can make life difficult, but it doesn't mean you have to stop everything. You can still you don't have to get up and move everywhere, because the sad thing is corruption does exist in a lot of places. I'll be back in a minute, everyone. Sorry to interrupt, but I need a break for a second. I'm back. It's a really it's an interesting, and I can understand. Look, stuff Sam's talking about is in relation to being triggered. So this is very important in regards to the very high profile case that has been unfolding over the last few weeks and in the last 24 hours. So anyone who's dealt with serious heavy topics or scenarios in their life, they know what it's like. And it doesn't have to be such high profile situations such as Virginia. It can be a country town where you're having to deal with difficulty because of people that live there. But look, I guess it's difficult when you're copying, you know, bad treatment. But like, it's hard to say, but like, not to be afraid, you know. The thing is, the people that are doing the bad stuff, they're the ones that should be worrying. But sadly, we live in a corrupt world where they don't. There's not much accountability for things. So it's hard for me to say. I don't. And again, anything that's it's sort of risky for me to, you know, advise anything. You know, I can't make advice on most things. I just talk about my own opinion, what can work, and I try and point people towards stuff. But I have heard that it does, and personally, pushing on and not be like, you can still be afraid, but not be afraid to continue. And it shows to them that you're not going to be broken. And you know, the main thing is if you really are worried about stuff, is letting them know that you're not worried, and that they don't have anything to worry about. Like, you're not a threat to them, so they're not got any reason to do anything to you. And this is a very difficult sort of situation that some people, it could be this same sort of situation could be in relation to, it could be a domestic violence sort of thing. It could be very concentrated and not same sort of effects that these things happen on people could be from that sort of stuff. So I just got a message. I got a nice message on my phone. So awesome. Yes, good point there. Highly sensitive healer says, and it's absolutely okay to not be okay, folks. Absolutely. Yep. That's a really good thing. Being upset, feeling guilt and guilt or shame, or you know, there is like self-censorship and being okay with it not being okay is a really good thing. Is accepting, you know, being able to overcome depression. It helps by accepting the depression and then finding out ways to make yourself feel better. And so that, and as an example, you could be anything that's like that. So acceptance, then the next level, it gets better. LKW, Mel Bear says, I'm so sorry, Sam likes fruit. Yeah, it does sound like a tough situation. And okay, I just read your next one. Yeah, so you do feel, I won't read out, basically saying that you do feel fear for your own safety. Okay, so this is a thing. So it's one thing to have complex trauma. It's another thing to have the fear of your own safety. To be, and again, this is why I said before, it could be personal. It doesn't have to be, it could be different scales, but it's the same thing. It's the fear of safety and well-being. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult when you try to go to people to ask for help and they don't want to help you. They don't think there's a problem. It's very scary. people don't take you seriously, that's scary. It's difficult. I really don't know what to say here. If you want to reach out to, like, you can send me an email. I haven't been checking my emails now for a while, and I'm finally getting around to that. So I'll do what I can, because there is options, Sadly, sometimes you have to move to another town. Sometimes you just need to tell them that to stop and that they don't need to fear you. If people are doing bad things, they're going to naturally be afraid of people who are aware of their deeds, dastardly deeds, and they'll also, put pressure on them just to make sure that they don't say anything, keep them quiet. It's very difficult. And again, this same thing happens in partner, family, work. Same thing happens in lots of different places. And it's basically creating an environment of fear in order to shut down, prosecution or seeking justice, or I mean, this is a really good topic to really go into sometime, because it's what creates some serious triggers. So Sam, we're here with you, and reach out. Safest places in public. Be well. I'm not. That's not my advice. That's what's been told, and by lots of people. If you're not, even. I don't want to give any advice on this stuff, and I try not to give much advice. I try and point people to things that they can learn about, because it's a very serious matter. So, but there are things that you can do. Sam says maybe they'll wait a few years. See, look, this is why, to be honest, this is why it's so triggering with Virginia. It's scaring people off. It's really doing their job. They create martyrs of things. They don't want to make martyrs of everyone, because it creates too much of a, it has too much blowback on the organizational group. Don't know what to say. Look, I can empathize, Sam. I've been there, and I am there. I've had threats. Yeah, I won't go into it. I've had in person of many types, not just one type of threat. And yeah, it's scary. It drove me paranoid for a while. It caused me to shut down, dissociate. That's what they do, and I don't want to make you upset or push you into a direction. I just want to make you feel safe. Know that there is ways you can look towards that future and not be afraid of these people, and that you think, what can I do? There are people out there that can help you. It's not easy, but there are people that can help you. And yeah. I'm just catching up. I've taken so long. Oh, Sam, that's all right, brother. Oh no, wait, here we go. I didn't realize I was so far behind in the chat. Wow, I'm so far, super far. All right. LKW Mamba says, thanks, highly sensitive healer. I'm not feeling okay lately. Highly sensitive healer says, that's okay, LKW. Mama Bear. LKW, yes, good point. On the topic of Virginia, she was in family court. Okay, it was DV. That's for sure. There was a very bizarre press conference held by the WA police. It all reeks of intelligence agencies, and I don't want to go into this. This is, or that she was being made an example of to try and stop people from doing what she did, seeking justice. I think in the end, the world is going to heal from all this stuff, and it's people shining a light on the evil, which will help bring about a safer, fairer future for us all. And it's very difficult, you know. But it really does show. It show what's gone on with Virginia, especially in just the last 2 months, has basically exposed a lot of stuff to do with how her safety, well-being, and everything has been handled by various different groups, whether it's government, police, media, um, tech, even social media. There's a lot of people that have been involved in how they've contributed to what's transpired. So it's a really good thing for us to be aware of these things. Yes, she was in family court for domestic violence, and apparently that's where the injuries came from. But you can easily speculate on this stuff, and I'm not going to go into speculation. Yeah, highly sensitive healer says you're not feeling okay lately, but I wish you nothing but the best. That's a beautiful comment. All the way absurd says, good morning, Marina MJG. That's awesome. Thanks, all the way. LKW Mumbear says, yeah, they took her kids in family court fairly recently and gave them to her abusive ex. Nah, thank you, sweet one, sensitive, highly sensitive healer. Yes, that's in relation to Virginia. Yes, all this stuff happened, and that it's hard to not actually comment or go into it. But yes, look, I think we need to talk about this. Virginia, um, Virginia had complex trauma from her upbringing, her being trafficked. I won't say the word. Her being transported is the way that her being abused in a very horrible, disgusting way. She then had the trauma of trying to seek justice and the trauma of getting away and the fear of powerful people that threatened her. So she lived with complex trauma from very serious stuff. It's basically goes to show that this is life for a lot of people. A lot of people can identify with, you know, like such high. It's not always like people can say, yeah, it's the same level of high profile people, but it's not necessarily. It could be the same scenario situation. It's very similar, and the resulting effect on the person, on their life, and their abilities to live feel safe, live comfortably, and trying to resume some form of life after these horrible, horrible, prolonged experiences. It's a really good chat tonight. And look, I totally understand it. I think this has been on my mind. I was triggered by the death of Virginia, and it contributed to me this today. So it contributed to me sort of. I literally broke some of my belongings, and now I've got to throw them in the bin because I was so upset and triggered, and now I wanted to talk about that because I feel ashamed for having done so. But I have to understand that it is a reaction, and damaging, destroying, throwing away, getting rid of things, and then regretting because it's your belongings. Even if it's triggering to have these things around, it could be it's your belongings. So if you throw them away, then you've lost something, and it can be financial. Like I can even look at what I'm throwing in the bin from this being triggered. There is a financial, a money figure that I can put on that, and then I can say, look, by being triggered by this now cost me this much money. You don't have to put a financial price on things. Emotionally, things can be priceless. Yes, I know we could go LKW Mumbear. We could go right into the discrepancies and funny business with the whole of what's gone on in the last month with Virginia, how it's been dealt with by the authorities, the media, social media, everything. What I can tell you is that I've looked at clips that has been throughout the various stages of the last month, and there's been a lot of traction. There's been a lot of people reading the articles and the videos, and this is looking at the plays on news articles and on this topic. So people are aware, which is at least a good thing. Whether they choose to turn a blind eye and to perpetuate silence, or whether they choose to stand up and in solidarity with Virginia and say, we need to end this stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's anyone who's sort of seen how they play these situations this is very reeks of a lot of things. Anyone who studied this stuff will just go, yeah. It's a good. I'm sorry, to be going on about this. I think it's important because of this is very current, and it does relate to triggering trauma. I've been triggered by this. It contributed to me being triggered in the last 24 hours. Highly sensitive healer says, yeah, I'm sorry you're not feeling it okay lately, but I wish you nothing but the best. That's a beautiful comment. Thanks, highly sensitive healer. All the way absurd says, good morning, Marina and MJG. That's awesome. LKW Mama Bear says, yeah, they took her kids in family court fairly recently and gave Oh yeah, I read that one, but it's good to read it again because this is what happened. So, and apparently she was in hospital with those bruising, very badly and damaged. Could be attributable to domestic violence. Yeah, so they took her children and gave them to an abusive ex. Highly sensitive healer says, Lucas, good man, and you found the right channel. Oh, thanks, brother. I love that. Beautiful comment. Thank you so much. Sam Likes Fruit says, I feel like I'm going mental. Sorry to be negative, but it's crazy. So insane. It's unbelievable. Look, this is what happens. Okay. So just when major events happen in the world, right? And they trigger people, it puts people on edge. So I guess in this state is just reach out, seriously, reach out to any helplines that you can to talk to them, especially ones that you feel safe that you can just talk to without fear of them going further than just trying to help you. You're trying to de-escalate right now. These triggering things that happen, they create that it makes you feel on edge, and this is what happens. They have carry-on effects. So when it's calculated within PR, espionage, propaganda, all that, psyop, cognitive warfare, or whatever name you want to put on it. Any group that's trying to push something, they know it's going to create an effect on the vulnerable people. So in times like this, it's best to protect yourself, reach out to friends. Try not to get too worked up. But if you're fear for your safety, then try and do what you can to alleviate that fear. Sadly, the desired effect of a lot of these sort of operations are to create this. So you got to stay strong. Reach out to friends. You're doing this now. You're doing the best thing. But don't just continue. Find the right people that you can talk to. If you can't trust certain people around you, see what other support that you can get in this time of need in order to stay positive. Thank you for being vulnerable, Sam. You're very brave to be talking like this tonight, and we appreciate it. And look, we understand that you're not being negative. You're legitimately triggered quite seriously, not only by your own situation, but by what's just happened recently. And it is a natural effect of the severity of what's happened. So regardless of what's happened with Virginia, let's honor the fact that she's a trailblazer, and she was very brave, and it's very sad in lots of ways what happened to her. I'm going to catch up. I know I got LKW. Mum Bear says, sending much love, Luke, and everyone with the hearts. All the way absurd says, it's okay, Sam. You can speak about your feelings that way here with the hug. Exactly. Great comment there. All the way absurd. LKW Mum Bear says, I understand Sam likes fruit with the heart. Sam likes fruit says, Jill Dando, my uncle was, oh yeah, I know all about that case. I've done a lot of research on that. Okay, my uncle was on that, and I was being okay. Yeah, I can't read that bit. Yes, yes, I can't read that bit either. Yes, yes, very fishy. That whole case, everything to do with that case, and I've done quite extensive research into that, and it involved a lot of fishy strangeness, and yeah, Sam, I by what you just said there, I can totally see how afraid you are because of that. If anything, I can say is if being on the even being connected with something as like that's contentious case, you know. I've done a lot of research into that case, and I don't want to actually comment on it, but I think with that, it was with cases like that, they just want people to sort of forget about it because there's so much attached to it. And I won't go into detail, but it does have to do with funny business. Wow, this is full on, Sam. You know, and even her case connects with a handful of other cases that occurred around within several years of that one. And also, yeah, I won't go into details, but yeah, look, as soon as you just, yeah, wow, like, dude, I guess all I can say is like, when you have that sort of connection to something so heavy as that, just it alone will cause pain and fear and um, mm, I hope I can't don't know what to say, man. Stay strong, and that, you know, you're on the outside of it all. Hopefully that hopefully you get through all this in the next while without getting too upset about everything. And I can totally see why you're so triggered now. Once you after reading that, like, yeah. Highly sensitive healer says, "Oh, I know what you're talking about now." Yeah, yep. And not by Sam likes. Thanks for that comment. Yeah, it's it's very important for us. I know to it with things like this, you know, and this is why when heavy things happen in the world, they become major triggers. So yeah, good comment. Highly sensitive healer. And Sam likes fruit says not by them, but by others that were yes. No, I understand that there was it was so what you're saying is it was separated, but it was still connected in the fact that the time and your so this makes it upsetting for you. Um, look, if there is a some form of, I mean, it's I don't know, some form of help that can um, sorry. Yeah, so I'm going to catch up with the chat. But look, I think it is really important. It is the chat's gone. It is very heavy, and Sam's apologized for the heaviness. Don't be sorry, mate. It's okay. We're here for you, and here the world needs to heal from all this stuff. You know, um, highly sensitive says, "Oh wait, maybe I don't." Yeah, it is complicated, but no, I'm sure you've heard about some of the things here, but it's heavy. It's difficult. To even begin the it's such a heavy thing, and yeah. So yeah, look, I won't read out too much of what you've said there, Sam, but like, we're with you here, man, and we understand how difficult this is. So you are. It sounds like you're being targeted to shut you down, and I don't know what to say as far as advice, but it's a very unfortunate thing that we live in this world where victims get treated very badly. Highly sensitive healer says, "Yeah, I'm so sorry you've experienced what you have experienced, Sam." Yeah, good comment. Yes, LKW Mumba says, "The world is so evil." Sam says, "Thanks for not blocking me. Sorry, I'll shut up now." That's all right, brother. LKW, highly sensitive healer says, "LKW, the world has lots of evil, but evil doesn't have the chance if love shines through more." That's beautiful. Beautiful comment. LKW Mumba says, "Bless you, Sam. Glad you're here, sweetheart," with the hearts. Highly sensitive healer says, "But that is up to us to allow love to shine through, and it starts with all of us." Yeah, great comment. Like, we do. Everyone does a bit, you know. Sam says, "I'm on my second Guinness." There you go. That's how long I'm behind on the chat. I've let this beer go on. I haven't had a Guinness for years. Good drop. Actually, no, I haven't had a Guinness maybe a year ago. Highly sensitive healer says, "I use alcohol to numb pain." Yeah, alcohol is a really good thing that numbs pain. Used in moderation, it can be great, and it can be good for celebration. There is a big difference between moderation and it being too much. You know, it can be something that can be enjoyable. So highly sensitive healer says yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Sam likes fruit says, "I had 7 to 9 car accidents." I say 7 because 2 no cooperation. All cars hit me as a passenger. I was a driver twice. Both cars went into me. Yeah, that is traumatic, highly traumatic. So that makes it very difficult. Those sorts of associations that you then have with things. So, Highly sensitive healer says her pain goes way deeper than just the case she was associated with. That is my guess, and she is not able to find the right help, as it is difficult to find the right help to support this and support system. Yeah, I agree. Highly sensitive healer. I think, you know, that's what's happened. She hasn't been given the right support, and we do have a lot of trouble with the family court in Australia, causing damage to people. There is a lot of cases where people have their kids taken from them and then get given to the abusive partner, which is highly traumatizing as well. And then on top of that, she had domestic violence. It's such a complex thing what she's been dealing with, and just being in the public eye, the hate and harassment that she's suffered, and the shame of having to, for what she was coerced into as a young woman, even before she was fully a woman at that. It's really sad that what happened to her. I hear what you're saying, but in the end, it was you can actually look at those things as being the things, lack of support that was there for her, when she needed it. Sam Likes Fruit says, I wonder if she or them are even real, or is it all just designed to trigger us? Yeah, look, that's a good comment. A lot of that's essentially a lot of key to psychological operations or cognitive warfare or propaganda, agitation propaganda, any of that stuff is, it doesn't have to be real. They can lie about stuff and create falsehoods as long as it has a desired effect. So with all of this stuff, it's good to be aware of these things that can be a calming thing. At least you can say, well, look, we'll never know. So let's not get so worried about this or so upset or uptight, but because we won't, it's hard for us to ever know unless there is people actually requesting an overseeing of the evidence of the things that have transpired. So, and as we know throughout history, this is how things are falsified at this point. So that's why it makes it difficult to then actually, once it gets basically broadcast and then repeated, it then becomes, so yeah, again, not letting it get to you, staying strong, doing what you can. This can be relayed and seen on with everything. It's we can take the effect of these big cases, heavy cases, and we can apply it to understanding our world and how we can protect it. And like going back to what Sam said earlier, was that this case has been so triggering. He feels that it has affected him to the point where he's questioning certain things. And sadly, the effect that is what it can be sometimes it can be deliberate. Other times it's just a natural reaction to, the trigger is just a natural reaction to being reminded of this serious high profile thing, and the same high profile thing happened to you. So that's why I was triggered. 1997, I can't talk about what happened to me. I'm very scared. I always had threats. I don't want to expose it because I've had the threats, and it sometimes also it can, I don't want necessarily to cause more damage to things that are trying to heal from this situation. But at the same time, it doesn't, it's the only way we're going to stop these things from happening in the future is to actually call them out. Maybe they won't do these things, you know. It's very difficult. So yes, that's why Sam, I was triggered by this as well. You're not alone, brother. But that is a good, you know, and I'm sure a lot of us here have studied propaganda and mind control and psychological operations, manipulation, coercion, social engineering, you name it. So we're all up on this stuff. That's why we see their games say, but they've been doing the same thing for a long time. It's creating muddying the waters, or basically poisoning the well, or whatever it is, making it impossible to get to the seek justice, get to the root cause. It's what we're dealing with in these cases of, especially of powerful people that seem to get away with stuff, is that they are protected by institutions and authorities that go against the very nature of what they're meant to officially be there for, which creates disillusionment, fear, and dissociation, and it causes the individual to disassociate from society, from feeling like they can go and ask for help. You know, it's the scariest thing, and this happens to domestic violence victims who need justice. They don't always. Sometimes it doesn't. People aren't there to help them. It's not. It does. This disillusionment and that can come from many things. LKW Mom Bear says, highly sensitive healer. Alcohol is a sedative and anesthetic. They know that, and I do too with the kisses. That's it. It's got good attributes. Used sparingly and wisely, it can be a great thing. You know. LKW Mum Bear says, how old is Sam? Sam says, my fox came and slept with me today on the grass. I feel like he was comforting me. Oh, how awesome is that? But I'm worried they're going to hurt him. They don't have long lifespan. I know being watched. I don't care. I won't shut up. Yeah. Yeah, I think foxes, they do get old quickly. I think they've got like 5 or 6, 7 years. Like, I don't know. I don't know what their lifespan is. I do know that they noticeably age once they get a certain age, and then they slow down, and that's when they're easier for hunters and trappers to catch them, because they're not the cunning fox that they were when they were younger. And that foxes are awesome. They are awesome animals. You know, in the wrong place, like in Australia, they cause a lot of damage, but so do cats, so do dogs, foxes, and rabbits as well. But foxes are amazing creatures for how they can survive, and they're beautiful creatures for how they care for their young. And there's generally scavengers. They don't cause that much damage compared, like, especially here in Australia. Like, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting topic. It's beautiful that you have a fox that comes and visits you and that you can hang out with it, because they are very intelligent and social beings, and that they can be yeah, that's amazing. It's good to hear that you've got a friend like that, but sadly you fear that they're gonna. This is the thing, is when you have fear, then you fear that the things that you love are going to become the target. So this is what happens. Yeah, and so I really hope you can. I mean, all I can say with that is that this fox is a wild animal, and that you can't really stop people from, if that fear that you have, you can't be there to protect it, unless it's almost impossible. you know but to think that that's a possibility, but it's not necessarily going to be the thing that happens. So just enjoy the time you have with it. Again, if they have a life where they they have lots of other dangers in their life that can cause them to um, have difficulties. Highly sensitive healer says, I ask myself, am I in any danger? Do I have reason to fear for my life or well-being? This is a really great one. And this is what I was like, the reason why I haven't even gone into the talk section of this stream is because we started chatting so quickly in the beginning, and it just kept going. And we've had some really great comments, been very spot on to what I was going to talk about. So this is to do with identifying threats, identifying the level of danger, and then that enables you to then find safety or be reassured of how dangerous the situation is. A really good comment, highly sensitive healer. So these are things that you can ask yourself. If you're feeling anxious or worried or triggered, and often you become in a difficult situation, so you don't know how to even, like, something's off, but that's when you got to ask these questions. And you can apply this to lots of things. So this is really good to deal with triggers and severity of a situation, as to how dangerous and how much safety you need to create in order to feel safe. And when I say safety, it's not just in the sense of threats to your. It's also in the polyvagal notion of safety. Is what is the core underlying aspect. Um, no, it's known as neuroception, and it's like it's seen as subconscious cues taken visually, audibly. It can be hormones, it can be everything in the environment, sounds that are then read subconsciously, which put us on edge, which create us, which make our nervous system go off and we're under threat, which has carry on effect on our everything: digestion, hormones, stress, heart rate, brain function, you name it. It's all connected. And so polyvagal theory at its core is essentially safety. When it says safety, it's that, and I think it's a great comment that highly sensitive healer said there, is that this applies to literal real world threats of safety, someone hurt you, or in the polyvagal safety means how much it affects your nervous system based on subconscious stimulus that is being read by the subconscious. And this happens instantaneously, long before any cognitive ability to know that you're in danger. Long before you know you're in danger, your body knows you're in danger. Even before, and they've done the research, even before you've even had the danger appear, but the threat is there is like an intuition sense, a sixth sense, that where your body is like, there's something off here, I'm scared. And it puts you in that state long before you even notice anything that could put you in that. Really good comment there, highly sensitive. LKW Mum Bear's got the hearts. Sam likes fruit, says helicopter. Yes, look, they can be a massive trigger, and I can attest that, is that yes, absolutely. And absolutely, they are used to threaten people. I won't go into any details, but yes. In those situations, Sam, try to think, they could be there just looking for something else, doing something else. It can easily put you in a position of fear that is detrimental, and it might not necessarily be associated with you. And this is the danger of that, is that when that happens, you can't, well, it's difficult. But what I'm trying to tell you, to don't worry about things, but I'm trying to say it's difficult to find that balance between these things that are literally used for intimidation, harassment, they're also used to look for people who are lost and to solve crimes, transport people to hospitals and things like that. So it's a difficult thing. We live in this world, of a dichotomy of good and bad, and it's very difficult. These things can be major triggers. Yeah, I can absolutely attest, and I can't talk about it right now. I've had multiple interactions in this world with that stuff, and LKW Mama Bear says, yes, I was in, wait, here we go. Took me a while to catch up. I'm so far behind. Awesome to see the chat is just awesome tonight. Yes, but it's heavy conversation tonight. So anyone, look, a bit late. It's good for us to have chats like this, but if anyone's feeling, upset or triggered by any of this content, just please, just click away, and speak to someone to just relax and feel reassured about things. But at the same time, if you're fine with this, then it can be enlightening, uplifting, or reassuring to know that there's people out there that understand your situation. But LKW Mama Bear says, yeah, I was set as an example in family court for whistleblowing. Yeah. And yes, Mama Bear has been put through the ringer with this stuff. I don't, and if look, Mama Bear, if you LKW, if you want to, when I start doing interviews at some point, like if you want to share your story, we can talk about it in a safe way. Because you're not alone, and what happened to you happens to people in all the Western countries of the world, and I'm sure it's worse even in other countries. But I don't know. I just know that this same thing that's happened to you happens in a lot of these. So many people that are affected in this way. LKW Mama Bear says it is terrifying to be. Yes, absolutely. It causes extreme trauma. It creates paranoia, induces disillusionment. It creates fracturing. It creates substance abuse. It's isolating in itself. It pushes the individual into being afraid of who to speak to. You don't want, you don't want the people that you're interacting with to then become affected by what's happening to you. So you become isolated. And in fact, that's the very thing that's the purpose of what the tactics are that is done. And again, the same thing that happens in these situations for people in high profile situations or whatever it is, also occurs in lots of these abuse scenarios. So you can be targeted within the company you work because you're a whistleblower. You can be targeted within your own family because you're the whistleblower or the scapegoat. You can be targeted in your church or your religious group or your community. So it's the same thing happens on various scales, and the level of severity and danger and damage, it all changes and varies. But there is the pain that's received and has to be lived with by the individuals that have to live through this is shared. That's why we can say that you're not alone. We highly sensitive healer says there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I love that comment. Yes, stay strong, be brave. Stay strong, be brave. Get help where you can, that you feel safe, and be wary of things. But another thing is that it's very difficult to actually accept help in this situation because you fear ulterior motives. Once trust is lost, once you've had threats or been treated a certain way, how do you even? So anyone who's suffered institutional abuse or malfeasance through systems or institutions, then those can be triggering things. So like even seeking help or justice is a painful experience. You feel futile. It feels futile, and I appreciate the comments here tonight and everyone's input. And I love your comment, highly sensitive healer. Stay strong. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. We can make it through here. Highly sensitive, says Sam. That's it. Harmony Seeker's here. Awesome, Harmony Seeker. I'm so glad you're here. Always appreciate your Harmony Seeker says, hi all, I'm here, have been sick all week, but am here. I found out some life-changing news this week. I'm sorry to hear that you've been unwell this week, and it's been all week. I really love the fact that you're here, and we all love your input, and your presence. And I hope that this life-changing news that you've found this week is good, you know. And if it's like, oh well, I'm sure you've gone further here, so I'll quickly try and catch up. So LKW Mumbear says hi Harmony. Harmony highly sensitive seeker says, hey there Harmony, awesome. Harmony seeker says, being in family court, it is very true indeed, but you'll get through. Yes, that's a really good comment. And to know that, you know, see, it is triggering, and it's, I haven't been through it myself, but I've just, what I've heard is it is very I like what you said there though, Harmony, is that, but you will get through. Harmony Seeker says, good to be here, awesome. OKW Harmony Mum Bear says, Harmony, it's over at the moment, but the outcome is evil. Can you share your news with the smiley face and the kiss? Highly Sensitive Healer says, folks, please like Luke's live stream. This is an excellent conversation. Oh, brother, thank you, Highly Sensitive Healer. You're a legend. Yes, and Highly Sensitive Healer says, if you haven't already. Thank you so much. And, you know, it has been, it's still going. I'm going to try and catch up with the chat. I'm going to be as fast as I can, you know. Harmony Seeker says, yes, I don't understand why evil is so much in this world. I don't either. You know what? You'd think it would be 80% good, 20% evil. No, I think it's the other way around. And I think it's the 20% of good make, and that of the 80% that's evil, 20% is really insidious, and then 60%, the remaining 60% of the 100% is then benign or not so full on. So we in this world where a lot of evil, if you look at it percentage wise, that's 60-40 of the middle region being made up of this low power, like an ignorant form of evil, where it's just inherent, and there's no, I mean, ignorance itself perpetuates it. So this is why speaking out and communicating and is a great thing to as a defense against it. There's a lot of people that deny, they've got rose-colored glasses on. They deny that this world is so inherently, I mean, yeah, it's, you only have to look at, I mean, yeah, well, there's just so much there to validate, but that this world is comprised of much more essentially evil than what is good, and that is that the actual that is recognized. And this a lot of this comes down to the denial of that evil that exists within the world. And this comes from institutions and organizations that perpetuate a silence mentality, where they will shut things down, they will deny, even like if they've been shown been not like complacent or actually even part of the problem, creating the problem, they refuse to take responsibility for it. They are above the law as in their eyes. And I won't go into details of who I'm talking about here because it is widespread. This is a thing. What we can do is be happy that there are good people in the world that are caring and share and do good things and amazing things. I mean, you see that when you look around in communities. You could be in a community where there's a lot of difficulty, but then there's the people that are really making sure that there's hope. There's still hope. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, and it could be the person that greets you in your day where you've had a tough day, you've been through some heavy stuff, and someone's there and just smiles and says hello, asks how you're going, you have a conversation or something, acknowledges you. Acknowledgement that they're helping you through. You know, that gives you hope. Beautiful comment of the stark reality of the world, their harmony seeker. It's a difficult thing to say, but it is there, and you know. Harmony Seeker says, my news is that I received a diagnosis of CD ADHD last week, which explains much of my life. I'm not sure the ZD. Okay. So I won't go into details, but that's what I was trying to work out. I think I understand what you're talking about. You had a diagnosis that was based on a neurological examination, which then, you know, as someone is yourself studied neuroscience, then, you know, you're up on how well it can actually be a accurate diagnosis of particular things in comparison to just, which is often done, people being diagnosed based on circumstance or anecdotal information that has nothing to do with the actual underlying problems that the person is living with, which then create their behaviors or their constraints that they have to deal with in based on, you know, often trauma to me is at the very core of most things that then become what are known as conditions. Sometimes they're called disorders, but yeah, lots of things, you know. And that's, I've been wanting to actually make this the topic of a live stream, is to actually talk about these things. And maybe in the next few weeks that would be a really good one, because it is such a prevalent thing. So yes, a good thing about having that diagnosis of ADHD is it opens it up for you to improve everything in your life. Like, you're already highly achiever, everything. Harmony Seeker, you're an amazing person and you've achieved so much and you're a shining example to people. So yes, hopefully I will get around to doing the interview. Harmony Seeker is hopefully going to be the first person I interview for the channel for the podcast version or the interview section of these streams. But it'll be pre-recorded and uploaded and done as a premiere. Harmony Seeker is an amazing, strong person that has really taken to, doing everything she can and living a beautiful life, enriching her life and people around her. So I think this could be good news, because I know you're a very resourceful person, and not just like in everything, but also with your knowledge on psychology and neurosciences, that you're really gonna, and I've heard this from people who've been given ADHD diagnosis, is that once you're aware and you can do the things to improve your life based on these constraints that are there, it allows you to manage these things that affect you, which are what are the basis of what is the diagnosis. So in essentially what I'm saying is you can overcome the diagnosis by doing the right things. For some people, it requires pharmaceuticals or drugs, but for a lot of people with that particular thing, it can be behavioral, where you can overcome the hurdles by doing the right things, which I think is the case for most things. LKW, Mama Bear says, me too, Harmony, with the heart. LKW says, oh, I see, Harmony, I have ADHD diagnosis. Harmony Seeker says, yes, this stream is great. Thank you so much. Sam Likes Fruit says, yeah, first time ever a helicopter just gone because I wrote on here that they're here. There you go. See? It's an example. You got to call things out in that they know you're. Here's the thing. There's nothing to fear with any here. We're all damaged people that are trying to live our lives and improve our lives, right? So there's no reason why people or any, and certain behaviors that create harm come from entities that are trying to cover up things. And look, Sam, it makes complete sense now. From when I first met you on the streams, I understood what you were talking about, being targeted and having to deal with these things. Just stay strong, focus on your health, keep engaged with as many, get as much support through what you can. And it's difficult, in at times, but there are support networks out there that can be through the government, and they can be also non-government. It's interesting to say, that, look, it really is an interesting world that we live in, where most people don't understand what's going on in a lot of places and how bad it's gotten. wouldn't it be amazing if like all the things that we were wanting to get fixed in the world were actually getting fixed, rather than people preventing people from living comfortably that have already become victims of horrible things. And so all these resources are being thrown at subduing and suppressing valid reasons to be upset. But you know what? We just want to live our life. You know, it really doesn't make sense that the way things are skewed towards the vulnerable and the victims. Now, this gives a great argument to people who say the world is corrupt and evil. So again, I keep countering with, or adding addition is to try stay positive. Don't try, just stay positive as you can. Do as much as you can. Be open and vocal in public. People try and tell you, you know, if they try and discredit you, say I don't accept your opinion, and that it's not valid for them to even comment. It's not their life. It's not what they've been through. So how can they stay strong, Sam? You know, things will get better. You got people on your side. You're not alone. I think things are going to get much better moving forward in the future. We've gone through so many cover-ups of horrible things, whether it's corruption or crimes, and at some point, all of this will see the light, and it will be exposed for what it is, and things will get better. So highly sensitive healer says, I have ADHD. Highly sensitive healer continues, actually, ADD, actually. So it's a very common aspect. I mean, I have hypersensitivity and hyper focus, but then it's complicated. You know, I think a lot of us, even if I think we're all on spectrum as far as trauma creates these things. And you know, there is a neurological explanation, and the dissonance or the brain function aspect to these things, I believe, is trauma based and is fixable through cognitive behavioral therapy, like a lot of things. And highly complemented with a lot of other things like diet and training, you know, which is the cognitive based therapy. It does extend into lots of things. You know, polyvagal, I think polyvagal approaches can be highly beneficial for a lot of these things, whether it's neurodivergence, ADD, ADHD, or any of the behavioral or the personality trait. It's hard. I think a lot of these things that have their roots in trauma can also be undone by. Sometimes it does require pharmaceutical treatment, but again, so much can be done by what exists today already in the form of strengthening, training, and conditioning. Like highly sensitive healer does his balance, stone balancing, rock balancing. He's so many, all these things with doing that. So find your thing, or a few things that can help. Yeah, that's just Sam. Those things do exist in this world of smartphones. Those things are actually built into the phones. It's a scary world we live in. So just stay strong and reach out if you need. I'll get around to responding to emails tomorrow, which have sat there for a few months because I've been sort of paralyzed with a lot of things. But yeah, I'll make sure I start checking. So anytime, just reach out. LKW says, I'm primarily hyperactive subtype. There you go. There is so many, and it's the same with codependency. Like there's so many subtypes, all things. We once you work out how things are, then you can work out how to fix them or to counteract or correct. Harmony Seeker says, I have the combo AUDHD. There you go. I didn't even know about that. I'm going to write that down. Oh, yes, I understand what it is now. Yes, exactly. And that is, it's probably surprisingly more common than most people understand that it's all there. Harmony Seeker says, oh no, that was LKW says, oh no, that was Harmony. And then inattentive subtype here. LKW says, I think I am AUADHD too, Harmony. Harmony says, it's called complex trauma for a reason. Exactly. That's a brilliant thing. You know what? I was planning on actually doing maybe next week. I'm gonna think maybe do the stream. Like, let's talk about trauma. Let's talk about complex trauma. It is misunderstood or just not understood by so many. So many have no idea about it, and often people who have some idea about it are misunderstood, or no, they misunderstand what it is. It is misunderstood by a lot of people. So we can sort of talk about it and clarify what it is like to live with. Why? What Harmony said. It's called complex trauma for a reason. So many people, they don't understand, but they could understand if they were explained in the right way. And not many people really do explain it. It's the most least talked about thing. We all know the history that when PTSD was, I think it was the DSM-4 or earlier, I don't know, but when they first introduced, they talk about it in a few books, but when it was introduced, of course they didn't want it, because they would have to pay out insurances on veterans and doctors, nurses. policemen or police personnel, so many industries that it's inherent, and then they would have to be responsible for. So they did. That's exactly what they did. So it was brought in, and then it was denied and refused, and it all comes down to insurance companies. That's why they have these other things like personality disorders and other things. Not to make anyone feel anxious that have had those diagnoses, but like a lot of these things are all complex trauma, and they're just being sold as something else because the industry wants to almost deny its existence. And here's the thing: complex trauma, you can heal from it. It's people with complex trauma often have complex problems that institutions, psychologists, psychiatrists, one who's involved don't want to deal with. And these are serious things, such as crimes, malfeasance, threats, corruption. What's what's caused this person to be like this? You can't fix it because the institutions that are responsible refuse to acknowledge that they've created this and that they've put these people in these positions, and they're now responsible for it. So then they have to pay for their rehabilitation. They don't want to pay for anything, right? Insurance agencies don't want to pay for anything. This is the world we live in. And so they will literally, I don't want to go into too much detail with it. I don't want to upset anyone about it. And we're having a beautiful, healthy debate talking about these things about ADHD. It's, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have any of these diagnoses. There are a lot of things that have got heavy stigmas around them. So I think moving forward, I think by the time we get halfway through this century, we're going to make sure that we rewrite and change the outcome for the treatment and rehabilitation into remission from what were once things. So things that were diagnosed, but not to be upset by having it in some situations. And in a lot, I don't know, I don't want to get too deep into that without being prepared, because I don't want to say the wrong thing just because I'm on the spot here. And LKW Mum Bear says, so true, Harmony. Yes, Harmony says it's called complex trauma for a reason. Sam Likes Fruit says, funny you online, and I saw it just as I'm going mental all about this. How weird. No such thing as coincidence. Listen, I'm so glad that we're all here for you tonight, Sam. And like we're all here to support you for moving through all this stuff. Just know that, anything that we can do to help you, like, this is the thing. Please reach out and we'll see what we can do. And yes, you're right. No such ... no such thing as coincidences. Yeah, exactly. You reached out and we were here. We reached out as well. That's why it's so powerful about these things. So I'm so grateful that we were able to be here for you tonight, right when you needed us. and that we're still going to be here. It's very difficult for any of us to all get in contact with you, but if you email me, if you ever want to speak, we'll see what we can do. I'm going to try and have an easier way of us to interact as a support network, to give guidance to who you can get to speak to as professionals to help you with your case, so that you can move forward and feel safe and get your life back again. Because you know, a lot of your trauma, Sam, sounds like it comes from being connected to horrible things that were also that happened to you, but then were also connected to these greater things, which were very serious, major things. And we live in a world of suppression and silence. So the whistleblowers and the victims really in this world. I'm gonna have to go to the toilet in a minute, so I might have a quick break now, and then I'll be back in a minute. Awesome. Thanks everyone. It's been a really lovely chat tonight. And amazing how much everyone's contributing. Well, it's amazing, but it's also happens a lot here in this chat. So everyone really does amazing. So I really appreciate your LKW. Mama Bear says, yes, I get triggered and it costs me money. The time, then guilt, shame, anger, fear, etc. Yes. And this is a major aspect to this whole thing. Money, time, everything. So this is a really good point, is that if we were able to return to a stasis once we're triggered as quick as possible, or a safety point, as it's talked about in polyvagal theory, we would save money. The whole world would save money. We would have time. We would get more done. We wouldn't be going backwards, we'd be going forwards. So really good point there, Mum Bear. Highly sensitive healer says, the lesson you've learned from throwing those things away is priceless. Yes, thank you. Yes, that's really uplifting, and that makes me feel better. And talking publicly, especially, it's powerful, my friend. Thank you. Another great comment. And highly sensitive healer continues, I'm right here with you, LKW and Luke. Thank you again. Legend. Thanks, mate. We appreciate it. Harmony Seeker says, I think the tree itself brings out the anger, etc. It's all part of it. Yes. Okay, so that's what happened to me. So I had multiple triggers, and it built up, and it was pretty heavy. And um, I didn't realize how severely triggered I was, and then it was unbearable. And a way I dealt with it was to break a few of my own personal items with the intention that I was going to throw them away. So just throwing away, getting rid of. It's like throwing money away, and it was painful. But I guess going back to what highly sensitive healer said was, yes, look at it. There is a positive side that you can look at it. It's a healing thing. I guess it comes down to how you go about doing it, and it could have been dealt with much better on my behalf, and that's why I'm talking about it tonight. Is that if you're able to, if you become aware of being triggered and know that you're in a vulnerable, fragile state, you can overcome how you're going to react to the scenario situation by calming yourself down, removing yourself from the situation, reaching out to people. There's so many ways that you can, once you've identified your situation. But sadly, what happens to most of us is that what happens if you look at it on a nervous system or a neurological, cognitive level, or like we say that when you become triggered, so with the polyvagal explanation, your nervous system goes into fear, so it expresses hormones, it shuts down thoughts, high level thinking, goes back to the mammalian brain, shuts down half your body. So when you're in that situation, when you're in that state, how are you able to have rational, calculated reflection on your state? Because you're in a state of fear. So the practicing ways of bringing yourself back to safety when you can identify a triggered state then can give you a better ability to think, because when your faculties are taken from you, and this is why people that want to coerce you into buying things or be fearful of stuff, which is done in the world that we live, or to become despondent, any of those things, they're created by they're manufactured by those that wish those outcomes, and they know how to circumvent rational ability to think just by putting someone in a state of fear, and then they're much more easier to manipulate or control. So if you look at it from a personal perspective, when you're triggered, if you can, because it's not always, big company or corrupt government or whatever it is, or oppressive person or abusive relationship, whatever things putting you in that situation, if you're able to identify, like, they've got it over you just by preventing you from being able to think. So it's all about taking back your mind from these people or person, whatever is the situation. From again, what I'm trying to explain tonight is that a lot of these things happen on scales from the smallest group up until the biggest group, and at the same similar tactics and methods are employed in these things. Again, to counteract, we can counteract these things by employing the same positive things. So if we can get ourselves back into if we can get our nervous system stasis and calm, safety, regulate, we can re-regulate and regulate our nervous system. Many ways we can do it. So many, we've talked about so many of these methods, and we'll continue to do so because this is the key to it all. If we can do that, then we can take back our mind and we can think rationally, and then we can overcome these difficulties. But anyone who wants to prevent us from doing that is going to try and keep us in that state. Now, where I'm talking about here is that we can be triggered by things that are like they have no connection to humans or any overarching control or manipulation by any people or whatever, whether it's institutional bureaucratic frustration based on oppressive nature of systems and things like this, or behaviors or inflicted behaviors by other people which put us in that. The triggers, they can be as simple as hearing a sound, remembering a thing, reading a certain thing, an event happening like what's happened in the last 24 hours with Virginia. They can be the trigger. And so when that happens, it doesn't matter. Like there's no thing or necessarily person or thing or entity that we can attribute it to. It doesn't even matter at this point. We've been triggered ourselves by our own things. We need to take back our own mind and our nervous system and get back functioning. Then we can deal with those things. And this gets even more important when we talked about, which I think it was Highly Sensitive Healer at the beginning was saying, compounding, talking about the compounding triggers on top of triggers. And that's what happens. And that's when it gets worse and worse. So the beauty of this stuff is it works on, and I'm just accumulating what I've learned through all the different things, and it carries across to so many things. But that's a great comment. I think the trigger itself brings out anger, etc. It's all part of it. Yeah, it is a big. Yeah, it's like you've got all that built up pressure, and you're going through those multiple emotions like you mentioned, anger, etc. Because if you've been basically trapped for a period of time and you're wanting to freedom from it, like it's the damage and that it's done. And it's a really good point that it's the trigger itself. It does bring it out, and it's been there. It's actually been bubbling up and sitting there, and it's often the frustration of time lost, emotional energy spent or constrained. And with the anger, like there is, yeah, it's, I mean, this is a good conversation. There's so many good comments here. So, okay, Mom Bear's got the hands and the hearts and the stars. It's a nice one. Harmony Seeker says anger is a secondary emotion. It is usually masking another key emotion. There you go. That's a really good one. And so this is a really important thing, is to understanding emotions, being able to identify with emotions and needs, and then you can express to others your situation, and then they can understand you better. And so often, like anger, it's an expression of something that is always something else. So what is it? And then this you have to practice, and this is what I've learned, or I am learning through learning nonviolent communication, connecting with empathy through practice. And it is exactly that, is asking yourself, why am I upset? What are my needs? What are my feelings? What are my unmet feelings associated? So what are my needs? What are the feelings associated with those needs? And what additional feelings, how do I feel? And you can write it down and you can work it out. And that's why it's a great thing to, for instance, study NVC, because it can give you more, but it's not the only thing that will help you with this stuff. There's many other cognitive based therapies that not necessarily cognitive based therapies, but language based that seek to actually basically fix everything that's wrong by clarifying it and being, once you, it's a really good point, highly sensitive healer. It's like anger is a result of an unmet need. So what if you're angry about that something, why are you angry? I'm frustrated. I am upset. I'm disconcerted. I'm unheard. You know, how do you feel about that? You know, I feel sad. I feel manipulated. I mean, that's not really a feeling. So that there's feelings and faux feelings. So it just further and further. So once you then clarify and really work out what it is, you know, so what are thoughts? What are judgments? You know, what are evaluations? And I'm excited to think of where I'll be in a few years, you know, if I keep working on this stuff. And we can all do this together, you know. What we see is with anger is often a misguided expression of an unmet need or feeling. So the feeling is associated to a need, and so then you have to spend a bit of time to clarify to yourself. And we weren't taught this stuff in school, so we're learning it now, and that's what better time than now, you know. LKW Mama Bear says, anger is a hard one for me. I find it deeply uncomfortable. Fear also, yes. These two emotions have got such strong connections to our nervous system, you know. Fight, freeze, flight, fawn. I mean, they're all connected to anger and fear as core primary. And so, you know, in mindfulness, it does it there are teachings that are to be able to, and in nonviolent communication, NVC, same thing, is to be able to harness and express anger. I still am learning it, and you know, I can even look at. I got angry yesterday and vocalized it, but I didn't use nonviolent communication. I used judgment and rather than express my need and my feelings, my needs and my feelings, so that it could have been connected to with the party that was causing my anger. So we could have resolved my anger without me resorting to being judgmental, judging, or that what's seen as violent speech, which is the opposite of empathic communication. It's amazing how quickly, you know, things get better just by following these things. I mean, it was a great learning experience, which with that. Highly sensitive here. I get what you're saying, Harmony. He continues, fear is usually that underlying emotion. Yes, exactly. So anger, fear. And then you can go further. So, no, highly sensitive healer. It's all good, brother. Says sorry for commenting so much. No. Everyone's having a good chat tonight. Sam says, anger is the lowest vibration. Apparently, I feel it though, but I feel peace at times. So much so the robin sits on my head. Strange. Yeah. See, look, you can project that stuff. That's a great example. Is that you can. Depends on how you express it. You can. So this is again. This is where the mindfulness talks about anger is to be like treat it with delicacy. No, delicacy. Treat it delicately. Treat anger delicately, you know, and to not shun it. Same with fear. If you think, you know, people have talked about these things as emotions, is things like fear and anger. People fear anger, but also people shun fear, or they fear fear. So they choose to ignore it and don't acknowledge it. So same thing with anger is that if you treat it delicately and allow it to be, don't hold it in, but don't express it, but treat it like, and so you can express anger in a non-violent way, because it's there for a reason. Like you're upset for a reason. You need to express yourself, so you can express your anger in a constructive way, so people around you can see how angry you are. And this will help you very much so working with bureaucracies, because you can express to them how much you are angry and why you're angry and why it's not right and why they need to do the things that they should be doing, which is their responsibility, to help you. And they will, and that's where it comes from. Expressing you, it's making connection with your own needs and your own feelings, and being able to express the other party, being able to connect to understand your situation, and then from that, then you can actually request how you can move forward, what you request in order to fix. Because you can't rely on the other party to say, oh, look, great, I'll do this and this will fix this. They can do that, but they can also just be standing there just waiting for you. They could be waiting in silence, waiting for you to actually say, but this is what I really need to move forward. So you can't rely on them to actually, solve it all for you. But that's beautiful. Sam likes fruit. Is like the robin sits on your head. If you're, but maybe the robin sees your anger and it's showing, but it still sees that you're a kind-hearted person. So it sees you not as a threat. So, and this is a beautiful thing, that it's trying to connect with you and to share. It's trying to do what it can for you, make you feel better, which is, it's a beautiful, amazing thing that this happens in nature. It can be at that point where that's what brings you back, and gives you that, oh, I feel better for the world now. Bird just came and landed on my head. Now I feel better. LKW Mama Bear says, thanks, highly sensitive healer, with the hands and the prayer hands and the heart. Not sure which I dislike more, fear or anger. That's a good comment. Harmony Seeker says, it usually all the emotions hit all at once. Yes, that's an overwhelming fact. Or that's overwhelming, and that's a big thing. LKW Mamba says, Harmony, that's exactly it. Exactly. You get overwhelmed. All the feelings hit you all at once. In a sense, that's what happened to me when I got yesterday. It built up. So it was multiple triggers, multiple emotions, and it all just hit. And it was overwhelming. And because I hadn't identified, I was in a state of fear. I was not in safety, because it was putting me into these situations, which was then affecting my whole body, which was then, and then compounding. And then that's when, rather than being calm, the result was to basically get rid of all this stuff that was in my room that didn't need to be thrown away. And I some of it I destroyed, I broke, because I was frustrated and angry and I couldn't express, and to just to break your own things is the safest way, to let out anger without, or fear. It was both those things, I think. and other emotions, unmet needs as well to then there's the result, feeling guilty, ashamed, remorse. Um, so LKW says harmony. That's exactly it. LKW says you're doing well, Sam. Sam says I am. I don't feel it, but thank you. See that? That's a beautiful comment because you appreciate but at the same time it's just that you may not feel it, but you are, like, we do see it, like just the fact that you're here, you're staying strong. Um, I think you are doing well. Doesn't mean that life isn't difficult. It doesn't mean that you don't have these problems with the world and ongoing fear and all this sort of stuff. But you are doing well for working through these problems. And there's a lot of people out there that have been through and are going through similar things to what you have. And this is where, hopefully moving forward into these, we can create more and more support groups to help people through these difficult things, and this is why I want to create the havens for the charities, the places for, like, sanctuaries for people to go and be safe, not fear. They need to start their life again. They got to drop everything and start their life again. They need somewhere to go and have people to help them through that process and to go through the healing so that they can then start something new and become something new by freeing up this space so that you can, in a safe way, be confident and then re-engage with society. It's engagement and disengagement. Again, it's another major aspect to moving forward. Sam says, I can't believe you haven't blocked me. Come on, mate. You're doing good, brother. Don't worry, mate. No, you're all good, mate. We're here to support you. So, LKW says, glad you're here, Sam. Exactly. We're all glad you're here. And as soon as you went, I knew that there was something heavy with what's happened to you in your life, and you didn't go into it until tonight. And now I understand massively. You have had heavy stuff, very high profile situations, and what you talked about, it's not just both, the three things: the things that happened to you personally, those two major cases that were a lot of corruption and malfeasance associated, and then on top of what happened to you personally, you have the additional fact of how you have been treated after what has happened to you by people and bureaucracy. And you're a very strong person, and man, it's awesome that you're here and that you're willing to, and you're moving forward with all this stuff. LKW says they so do, highly sensitive healer. And she continues, I think Sam is Yeah. Yeah, I I never even, for some reason I always figured, I never even looked to see um that Sam's gender. I never even asked. I never even asked. I don't know if I've been misgendering. I'm so sorry, because Sam is both a male and a female name. I'm sorry if I got it completely wrong. I have no idea. Put it in the comment, Sam, if you wish to share with us. I've had troubles with that here, getting people's, because it does, it's unless once you know, then you can speak in that term. But until that, you can get things mixed up, especially when there's a name that's dual. So, but I never even thought that, and I'm really sorry. Thank you for bringing that to light, LKW. Please, Sam, let us know. I'm sure Sam would have told me, though. Just because I probably would have said it so many times. If I, I'm sure that I would have been corrected. So please put it in the thing and let us know if you're still here. Or, if you're watching this back, let us know for next time. Awesome. Baby Stag's here. Baby Stag says, morning, sweethearts. So good to have you here. Always good to have you here. You're an awesome part of the community, Baby Stag. It's always full of happiness and joy and care and compassion. LKW says, hi, Baby Stag. Baby Stag says, literally just woke up. Hey there, baby. How you going? Sorry. How you doing? Sorry I'm late. I did see that way earlier today or yesterday that it was going to come on at 3 a.m., but I was busy and I wasn't sure I was going to. I'm so glad you're here now. So and again, I'll try and do some America friendly time zone or streaming times. This is perfect for Sunday night in Australia, and it's Sunday early afternoon, morning in Europe. So when I get to once I start, I'm going to try and do 2 streams a week, and one so that so that everyone gets a chance to join one or the other one, but yeah, Baby Stay continues. Yeah, she was going to make it, but I'm up. But I'm here. Yeah, that's it. You're right. It's good. we're all glad you're here. And I'm surprised. Well, it's been going for 3 hours tonight, which is really cool. It's been so good. I mean, I had stuff sort of planned for the talk, and I haven't even needed to even start it. Everyone's brought in comments about being triggered and all that. So it's been amazing like that, and everyone's had really good comments. But yeah, Baby Steak says, "Hey, beautiful babies." See that? That's the love. Beautiful. So Sam likes fruit. To talk about it. ... I don't know. I don't want anyone hurt or to go to prison, because that is evil too. I just want to not do this to me, and admit and say sorry and give me back my stuff and be nice and stop. I can't work out the last bit. Lying and trying to destroy me and everything I'm trying to do. So it's exactly it. So all you're asking you're basically offering forgiveness in in um, in exchange or in response to your forgiveness. You're asking for them to just let you be and to just admit their fault. It's very hard to get that from institutions, um, whether they're government or non-government or religious or private, like corporations and businesses, literally anyone that you'll get an apology from a human being, but you won't get one from an institution or an organization generally, and it gets harder and harder and more difficult. And look, this is just the way it is. It's very sad, but what you're asking is absolutely beautiful, valid. That's what we need. We just need people to take account for what they've done, make amends by trying to do what they can to get you back on track, apologize if they can, if they've got the capacity for that. Acknowledgement is just as good, even if they can't apologize, at least acknowledging, rather than denying or refusing to accept, or even worse, to turn it around and to then to victimize you and to demonize or to attack you in order to cover up their own. So this is the world we live in, and so all you're asking is for something very simple, and it doesn't cost much money for these people that have done you wrong. How mature are they? How strong are they to actually follow through with something like that? Can they have honor? How simple is it just to apologize and to try and make amends for the bad things that happen? It's so much good the world would be so much better if those things were done. What you're asking for is an amazing thing. You're being very compassionate and understanding to your victimizers, to those who've hurt you. You don't want to cause more pain. You're not out for retribution. You just want to be left alone, to be given an apology, and to maybe be helped out a little bit. That is very humble, Sam, and it's amazing. And you know what? A lot of victims are just like you. That's all they want. They're not asking for much. LKW Mama Bear says no, Fox. Yeah, that's it. That would be cool. Imagine having a fox as a support animal. You could have a fox pen, and they can be amazing pets. They, that's you just need a. They dig burrows so they can get out. So one of the main things is, if you're going to have a rescue fox, you need to be able to keep it from digging its way out. I mean, it's not going to do it if once it gets elderly. It just wants to stay there. But yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, they do eat wildlife, but they haven't. They, especially in the UK. I mean, there's places where that's their native home too, and um, they're treated badly there as well. People making out like they're causing all this. I mean, yeah. Harmony Seeker says, my dog does similar for me. Yeah, that's it. Like, support animals are amazing things. You know, I've been thinking about getting a support animal, like either looking to be a wildlife rescue or, you know, something. But, you know, at the moment, it's too much. Sam Likes Fruit says, the thing is the fox killed my bird friends. Yeah, see that they do that. Lol. I thought I had a stalker killing my birds. It was the fox. Now the bird's not happy with me befriending the fox. Yeah, that's difficult because the birds are your friends and the fox has become your friend. How do you know what you could do is you could actually make a bird feeder that is safe from the fox that it can't get to. Sam Likes Fruit says, owl and tree, two cats chase it. Then the fox chases cat. Lesson. Yeah, that's it. That's the beautiful. It's like the cycle, you know. Sam says safety in numbers. Yes. Sam says, what does this mean? Isaiah 15:71. From the light and create the darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Well, okay, so from what I understand is this sort of maybe goes into a religious debate of whether everything can be attributed to a creator or a god as far as the responsibility for the bad that exists in the world. And so this is a debate that goes beyond religion into a lot of structures or systems. So that's a really good, and this is a classic example of how a religious text can have such meaning for so many things. You know, so and so this is sort of like, I guess, in religious studies or whatever, it's like the notion of the dualistic nature of God or the creator. And you could extend this into a philosophical debate as to whether who's responsible for what. Now, if you look at the argument between different actual religions have had different beliefs on this as to the role and responsibility of this, and things like this will sort of denote this as, well, here's an example as to this. And so this has been a big debate for a long time. One thing I find very interesting with this is that in our world, we actually find that institutions or governments or whatever they are, anything powerful and does a lot of things can be like that, where they are both the angel and the demon, or the one that does good and the one that does bad, and they do both. So, this is a very interesting debate. And what does it mean? So, if you take this quote and then, or this, what does it mean? It means that there is an omission on behalf in the person, as if it's written by someone in that position, or the all-powerful, the creator or the God, that they are both the creator of good and evil. And this creates a dissonance. But this exists in reality in the form of, you have good cops, you got bad cops, corrupt cops, you got good cops. You got the same thing in everything. It's very difficult, that's why it's a great conversation to have, because this stuff exists on a lot of scales. And I guess it's been it's a really good one, Sam. What does it mean? There is a lot to be said about what is said to be evil and who perpetrates it, how it's perpetrated, how it's allowed to exist, and these are all great questions, and it's very difficult to get answers for some of it, but others it can be shown that it can't be denied that this is the world we live in, that you have good and bad that exists within most systems. And sometimes it's by design that you have this, both sides being created and then playing off against each other. So we see this in politics as like a duopoly or controlled opposition. And then it's then also seen from a greater level, where if you're looking at the people that fund political parties, which debases democracy through bribing the political parties, means that even if the parties themselves are doing the same thing, or the people that pull the strings, then you have the donors paying off both sides or playing both sides so that they always win. I mean, that's sort of going away from that a little bit, but I mean, this is I like these sorts of things as far as a interesting subject, and it has been a major aspect to the differences in religions, as far as those who believe, and even okay, this is not just Christianity, this is other religions, Judaism, obviously the Abrahamic, and then even earlier Zoroastrian, even in Hindu, the pantheon, or like this is a something that exists in a lot of these things, and it's grappling with a form of hypocrisy that is inherent within bureaucratic systems, as well as, if you look at it in a religious aspect, it's something that can be seen as being inherent in how it all works, good and evil. Who's responsible for it? You look at, so I can't answer this right now, but there is a lot. There's a lot. Well, I can say that in human systems, human created systems, there is a lot of this systems that claim to be doing good, but also have a racket on doing bad. Now, you could take this argument further and actually, or debate, take it further and actually, in a sympathetic way, look at how controlled opposition or co-intel or co-opting is a way for those that want to control everything have to control the bad. So they actually have to do bad and then be in control of the bad so that they can create the good. Does that make sense? It doesn't, does it? But that's the world we live in. That this is how organized crime exists and flourishes, because it's inherently a function of the system. Now, this creates a lot of pain because we have a notion that institutions are inherently just or good, or what we believe them, or we tell ourselves this stuff, even if we know, they lie to us, they do all this bad stuff. You can look at almost any major institution, and throughout his history, they've actually been responsible for some horrible things. Every country has had slavery. Every it's something that's somewhat inescapable. So you can look at you can sort of put a rating or gauge a level of how much good a particular group, institution, religion, government does based on how they control or suppress evil. You don't hear philosophers talk about this stuff. It's too spicy. It's too much of a hot topic for them. Mostly they'll stay away from it for fear of ruffling too many feathers. But within the religious debate, religious domination, different groups dominate, different religious groups have had different views on this as to whether, this the basis of duality, the different understanding of how duality either exists in the sense of, in this respect, which is whether good and bad are a function of a single unit, or whether they are separate, that there is good and then there is bad, and the creator, or those, although whoever is responsible or creates the bad. So then there's even further, it goes, is the bad created so that good can exist? This is a debate that's been going on. It's fascinating, but it's very important because it relates to everything. So there's no reason for us to stop talking about this. People have been debating this for thousands of years, and I think we'll continue to, and especially if we can relate it to humans and systems that we create for ourselves within our society. Harmony Seeker says, this is why we and therapists tend to focus on our strengths rather than our weaknesses. That's beautiful, beautiful comment there, Harmony Seeker. Awesome. Aishaw's here. Aishaw says, good morning, everyone, with the stars. So, look, it is getting late. It's 3:27. It has dropped down to 2. I don't know if that's because I've gotten into heavy debates, or if it's dropped out or what, I don't know. But I do like those philosophical stuff, and we can see where it intersects with the world, and how religious debates have a valid place within philosophical debate, regardless of whether you're religious or not. I want to thank everyone for tonight. We've had an amazing conversation, and it's been a heavy chat tonight, and much love to everyone. Really, much love, and I appreciate everyone's time and care and interactions and input. Thanks for putting up with me. That's my classic self, what's the word? Yeah. My lack of self-confidence, or my fear of speaking too much and not letting other people, because this is the beauty. I'm trying to let everyone speak, but part of me reading everyone's comments is I try and comment on almost every comment. It's very rare that I don't comment on someone's comment. So I get carried away sometimes, and I try and be optimistic. I try and be positive, and I try and actually, be that can help in some way without adding to the strain or fear or stress. So Thanks, everyone. I look forward to the next opportunity, which will be later in the week. I'll try and do a stream that is. Oh, Marina's here. She was here earlier, but still here. Yeah, that's awesome. Marina says, "Are you sure? Good morning." That's it. Yeah, good morning. Are you sure? And it is. It's like it's looking at the time here. It's actually the sun's up now. Would have been up for a while because it's moving into summer now in the northern hemisphere. 7:44. There you go. Marina just answered me. So I think you're in the same time zone, Marina, as Are you sure? So yeah, Marina says lol. I know, we were just talking about it. It's like, isn't that funny how like, and this calls this, we're having a chat and it just, everyone's thinking about it. We're listening to each other and we're responding, and it's great. That's what I love about this stuff. So I did a bit heavy earlier, but I won't hold back from talking about these things that exist in the world, which is we live in a world that there is corruption, that there is evil, there is people that are doing bad things. There are people that are doing good things too, and we look at both sides. We understand that. When I say war is bad, I don't blame the poor people who are conscripted to go and or tricked into even going to war or forced into it. And there's a lot of honorable people that are doing good work, and it's not that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not demonizing all these people that, if you want to, same thing with anything. Like if I'm talking about where corruptions exists within governments suppressing major crimes, I'm not saying people that work for the government are bad or evil. I'm just saying bad things happen within these systems, and it's inherent that a system of secrecy and refusal to acknowledge or to atone to the damage that is done, that's probably worse than the actual deeds that get done. Just the very fact that there is a refusal to, when they finally actually get caught doing what they're doing, they don't acknowledge it and they continue to suppress it, and they can, because there is a refusal to accept accountability. And this is where this happens on many levels within society, and this filters down to the individual and causes great pain, disillusionment, and it perpetuates bad deeds because people say, oh, well, they're doing it, so they don't see what they're doing, so it's not so bad. So yeah, leading by example is a big thing. It's been awesome tonight. Thanks for being here, everyone. I don't know who's here still. I know it's getting late, but anyone who's been here tonight, if you're still here, thanks for being here. Everyone's contributed some amazing comments and suggestions. Yes, Marina's. Thank you, Marina. Thank you for being here and contributing. You're amazing. And look, we'll do this again soon, as soon as possible. It's been a heavy one this week, But hey, it's been a difficult, heavy week, and I'll continue what I was gonna like. We really did talk about triggers, but I think we'll continue that moving forward, coming up again soon. So we'll go further into that, and then yeah, there's so many interesting things to talk about. What I'll try and do moving forward is to update the scheduled stream a couple of days ahead, so that people have an idea of what the topic is. And so, because what I really liked tonight was great, is that everyone had such great input, and having information of what the topic is leading up to it, then people they'll know what they want to say, and so this is great. And I hope everyone has a good week, and I hope everyone's doing well. And again, we were talking about triggers, and we'll continue talking about that next time. I hope you're dealing with any triggers that pop up in the best way possible. And so that's why I think it's a great thing to really just sort of continue with this topic moving forward. Anyway, it's been great. Much love to everyone. So look forward to seeing you all again soon.